The worst part was not the hunger or the beatings. The worst part was the sound. A loud, heavy thudding, like a fist hitting a thick wooden door. It was the sound of her stepmother, Mama Koro, walking towards her room. It was the sound that always came just before the darkness. Adana lived in a small, mud-walled house at the top of a dusty hill. The path leading to it was lined with tall, dry grass that whispered angry secrets in the wind. From the yard, she could see the entire village below, a cluster of brown roofs hidden by green trees. But the beauty of the village was a world away from the ugly life she lived. Her stepmother, Mama Koro, was a big woman with a face as hard as a rock. Her eyes were small and dark, and her mouth was always set in a tight line. She had come into Adana's life like a bad dream after her mother's death. Adana's father was a kind man, but he worked in the city, far away from home, and was unaware of the monster who ruled his home in his absence. He sent money for food and school fees, but Mama Koro used it only for her own children. Every day, Adana's life was full of pain. She would wake up before the sun to fetch water from the river. The walk was long, and her bucket felt heavy, but she pushed through. Back home, she would sweep the yard, cook the food, and wash clothes for Mama Koro and her two lazy children. Mama Koro gave her little food and many beatings. The hunger in her stomach was a constant companion, but the fear in her heart was even bigger. One night, the moon was a sliver in the dark sky. The village was quiet. But Adana's heart was not. She heard the familiar sound of heavy footsteps. Thump! 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 They were getting closer. The door to her small room creaked open, and a shadow filled the doorway. "You did not clean the cooking pot well," Mama Koro's voice said. It was low and cold. Adana's hands trembled. She had cleaned it for a long time, but she knew it didn't matter. Mama Koro's face was a mask of pure hate. Adana's mind went back to a story her late mother had told her about wicked people turning into animals, and she wondered if her stepmother would transform into a beast. "I will do it again, Mama," Adana whispered. A loud slap hit her face. It felt like a stone. Adana fell back, her head hitting the rough mud wall. The world went dark. She woke up in the morning, her head pounding. As she went to fetch water, she saw an old woman sitting by the path. The old woman's eyes were kind, and she held a small, woven basket. "The spirits have seen your tears," the old woman said. "There is a secret place in the deepest part of the forest, where a river flows. You must find it and bathe in its waters for 3 days. Your pain will be washed away." Adana was afraid, but she had nothing to lose. She went deep into the forest. The trees were so thick that the sun could not reach the ground. She found the secret river. The water was as clear as glass, and it glowed in the dim light. She bathed in its cool embrace. On the 3rd day, as the water touched her skin, her bruises disappeared. Her body felt light and strong. She looked at her reflection in the water, and she saw a girl who was no longer afraid. When she returned home, her father had come back for a surprise visit. He was standing outside the house, looking tired but happy. Mama Koro saw Adana and her eyes were sharp, full of questions. She saw that Adana was no longer weak. She saw a new light in Adana's eyes. "Where did you get this glow?" Mama Koro demanded. Adana did not speak. She just smiled. Mama Koro's face twisted with greed. She wanted that power for herself. She wanted to be the most beautiful and strong woman in the whole village. She lied to her husband, saying Adana had been disobedient and that she was a difficult child. But the father saw Adana's face, clear and bright, and his heart was troubled. Later that evening, when the father and Mama Koro were sitting, Adana served them food. The father watched his wife, a frown on his face. He noticed the way Mama Koro's children were treated differently, given more food and kindness. Mama Koro, consumed by greed, could not think of anything but the river. As night fell, she told her husband she was going to visit a sick relative. Instead, she went to the secret river, her heart full of bad thoughts. But the river was not kind to her. The water turned to mud as she stepped in. It covered her face and her body. She screamed, but the mud clung to her. She ran out of the river, her skin rough and gray. Her body felt heavy, and she could no longer walk straight. Her face had turned into a scary mask, full of bumps and spots. She dragged herself back to the house. Her husband was waiting. He looked at her and gasped, his eyes wide with fear and shock. He did not need to ask any questions. The truth was written all over Mama Koro's new, ugly face. He finally understood the dark secrets of his own home. Mama Koro fell to her knees, weeping, but the mud on her face was a stain that would never wash away. The house on the hill was now quiet, but it was the quiet of a monster defeated.